Well, at the outset, I thank Mr. Kuriakos and all the principals and teachers who have given me this opportunity to address the teachers in the southernmost part of India. I think thanks to our digital network that we are able to connect with one another, even though we are very remotely placed. Well, I spoke to Mr. Kuriakos and said, first of all, I would like to set your mindset as to what I am going to do and how much time I will take so that you can plan your programs accordingly. Well, as you know, that today's topic is leading to learn, or we can also say leading for learning also. It's a very interesting topic, very relevant to the, as Kuyako said, some principles are attending the pedagogical leadership. It's a very integral part of that publications of CBSE. Well, I would start. People are always used to listening to speeches. I would like to start with an anecdote, old and new. Everybody likes a story. And we will see how we could reflect on this story. And then a few minutes of interaction with you to lay the base for our discussion. Well, the story goes like this. There was a king who wanted to groom his son to be the next heir to take up the leadership after him. So he sent him to his guru, who lived deep in the forest, to get a practical training, lessons of wisdom, and various other leadership traits that is required. So this son of the king, who lived in a very lavish and luxurious palace, set off alone on his horse to that hermit's house, or to the guru's house, deep in the forest. As he went through, he had to go through all the pains, struggle, trying to negotiate his way through that deep forest, sleep in the open air, eat fruits or whatever is available on his way. And that was a little practical lesson on how he has to face the reality of life. And finally, he reached the guru, or the hermit, who lived in a small hut. He introduced himself and was prepared to take the lesson. And the first lesson that the guru gave him was, and that he told him, go deep, further into the jungle or to the forest, and listen to the sounds of the animals. So the prince found it quite an easy task. So he went deep into the forest a little further and came back quite quickly and said, Master, I have heard the sounds of the animals in the jungle. And the master said, Tell me, what are they? As usual, he said, the buzzing of the bees, the growling of a lion, the barking of a fox, or the howling of a jackal, the chirping of the monkeys, hissing of the snake, etc., and the like. The master said, "No, this is not what I wanted to know. Please go back again and listen to the sounds in the jungle." Now the prince was not able to comprehend what exactly he has to do. But still he went. For days together, he tried to analyze and find out what could be that the master wanted. Then one day, he sat down peacefully in a meditative posture, closed his eyes, and tried to listen. He listened a few sounds, and he felt that this time the master would be pleased. So he went back to the master, and the master asked, "What are the sounds?" Then he said, "Master, I heard the sound of the bud as it started flowering. I could hear the sound of the grass. I could hear the silent sound of the wind as it passed by me." And like that, he shared with him some of those sounds, which was to him was unique. And the master said, "Yes, you were able to hear the unheard. What you shared earlier was what we generally hear, and you were able to hear the unheard." And then he said his first lesson of leadership. As a leader of your kingdom or as a leader in any capacity, the most important quality that you should have in you is have the ability to hear the unheard. Our students do not speak everything they want. They have a lot of inhibition. They carry in them a lot of doubts, but still they don't ask the doubts. If the teacher is able to hear the unheard voices of her or his students, and that makes a difference in the quality of a teacher. Having said that, I would like to share how a teacher is very important as a leader, not only to learn, open to learning, but also lead for learning. When we talk about leadership, we think of the principal or the head of the institution. Well, my dear teachers, everyone is a leader in his own capacity. And it is not gone are the days when the principal should always be looked upon or looked up as the one who is going to guide. Yes, he is going to guide, but you can also build your leadership qualities as a leader of learning and as a leader for learning. That's the basic concept on which I would like to share my thoughts. And before I share the start speaking on the topic, I would like you to answer a few questions, which is quite obvious you should be knowing and quite obvious that you might have heard of earlier. I would like you to share. I think there are how many schools are there here? 4. 4 schools. Any one member of each school, can you tell me what is the vision of your school? 4 schools, anyone, you have a vision? What is the vision? What's the institutional vision? Yes. You can refer to what is the institutional vision.
I'm from Syrian Jacobite Public School.
Yeah.
Our vision is to ensure quality education to the holistic development of our students.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, that's a vision.
So,
Sir,
Yes.
yeah, may I speak, sir? This is Anita Menon, Shalom Residential Public School, Chittoor. The
Yeah.
vision of our school is to create world-class leaders who have total quality personality.
That's great. That sounds very well. Yes. Next.
Sir, I am from the Rajas International School, Kottayam. Our vision is to pursue excellence through hard work and honest efforts, to inculcate values through fellowship, friendship, and fear of God.
Great. Very nice. Yes. One more school is left. Is there any more school or
Anybody
Sir,
from
I'm
OE?
not quite sure whether.
okay? If you are not sure, we'll proceed. So that what we heard was institutional visions set up by the institution, the philosophy, the philanthropy, or whatever background on which the vision has been created for the institution. Now, that was institutional vision. Now, I would like to ask, what is your personal vision at this stage of life? As a principal, as a teacher, what is your personal vision?
Sir, is it his personal vision means professional?
Yeah. I mean, what is close to you?
I am Georgiani from Rajasandana School. My career vision is to make the students for learning by doing for the 21st century live, and no one is behind. No student is behind. Everyone is equal. That is my vision.
Okay. You are from which school?
Rajasandana School, Kottayam.
Okay. Fine. Is there anyone from that same school? Is there anyone else in the same school?
Yes.
From the yes.
Sir,
Please.
my vision. I am the teacher of Rajas International School, Kottayam, and my vision is to touch the heart of each child and to make him understand that world is very beautiful if you spread happiness to the world.
Very good. Very nice. Anybody else is from that school? Okay.
My vision is each child is an individual. To develop a full individual personality. That is the vision of the person.
Okay. Okay. Now, of course, I can go to the other schools as well, but let us, since I also have a limited time, it's already 4:50 now. So, what is the difference between a institutional vision and personal vision? Institution is set by the institutions, or it could be a collective vision of all the people of the institution. And personal vision is something which you nurture on your own self. The institutional vision will be one, and from that same school, each teacher will have her own personal vision, interpreting the institutional vision in her own capacity, in her own belief. And that is why it could be a shared vision towards the objective of the institution. Every one of us should have that vision. That there was a time when I was a teacher quite long ago. I had built up a vision that one day I should become a leader. I mean, even if you are not very sure of it, but you can build on that vision. And once your vision is there, you will try to see how you could achieve that vision. So teachers are not to remain as a teacher. Teachers are the future leaders of the country. If you see the leadership, the HOI or the principals of schools, all of them were once a teacher. So teachers should build up that vision, personal vision, to become a leader. And you can start building that leadership with starting to become a leader to learn, openness to learn, and leader for learning. How you facilitate learning, how you use your own innovation, how you use your thoughts to bring about that conceptual change in the mind of a student and get that sense of fulfillment. Once you get the sense of fulfillment, you feel that yes, you are building up your vision. I think someone says, I would like to test their heart or something, she said. She was touching upon their heart. Now that's her vision. Once she starts building up that vision and her next vision, quite obviously she would be an institution in herself to be a leader of the institution. Well, my dear colleagues, there are about 1.5 million schools in India. Statistics may vary. There are about 15 lakh principals, and there are about 45 lakh teachers. We do not have enough teachers and enough principals. So why don't you build your vision to become the leader of tomorrow? And you can start by leading to learn, observe people, learn from the shared experiences of the people with whom you work. That is why very often I say, when a teacher comes for an interview, I said, they ask a lot of things. Of course, salary is a very important aspect. And above all, I tell them, it's always, you must find a place, whether it is in my school or elsewhere. What is the kind of people you're going to work with? If you are going to work with the people who have a shared vision, who have a vision of a collaborative effort, and I think in that way, you would benefit a lot in growing to become a leader of tomorrow. Actually, this leading for learning has got 4 parts. It's quite a long session, but I'm cutting short very as an introductory talk on this. On the first part is the concept of leadership. As a leader, as a teacher leader, because in a school, it is not the principal who is alone a leader. I don't know what is the organogram of every school, but generally the organogram is you start with a class teacher. He is also a leader in a class. You have a second is the CODs or coordinators. They are also leaders. Then you have sometimes when there is one class number of sections, you have that section leader. And then we have HODs. Then you have vice principal and principal. There are so many leaders. It's a collaboration. And remember that the 21st century of learning is collaboration. No more an individual who can say, I know it all, I can do it all. It is a collaboration, sharing of thoughts, sharing of experiences, sharing of good practices that makes one the leader for learning and leader to learn. And the most fundamental aspect of leadership, I will just share a few concepts and then I will run through the presentation, but I'm not going to show you all the slides because it's a session for a longer period. The basic thing of a leadership is, or for the teacher for that matter, and for the leader. Teacher also uses this word, this concept. The leader also uses the same concept. Can anyone say, what is the basic thing when you are dealing with students, when you're teaching? What is that you have in your mind? Can anyone tell me?
You should be a role model, sir.
Okay. No. How do you connect to the students? What is that connects you to the students?
The teacher should be able to understand the student.
Okay. So what do you call that? What do you call that? When
you should be interactive.
No. What do you call that? Whether you interact or whether you understand, there is a particular word which
we should be friendly to them.
Okay. Teacher should come to the level of the child.
The same level of the child. What do you call that? There is a word for that.
You should be at par with the child.
Yeah, I think you got a point. Sometimes the word doesn't come so easily. Maybe I'm not so. It's a pedagogy. Okay. See, what is pedagogy? Now we are calling a pedagogical leaders. Even the principals are supposed to be pedagogical leaders. Teachers are to use pedagogy in the art of teaching. And what is pedagogy? It is an art. The pedagogy is the art, and not only the art, it is also the science. The art and science of teaching for the teacher. It is the art and science for connecting with the teachers for a principal. And emphasis on the disposition. I mean, what is the framework mindset of the person? What is the disposition? You see, there are teachers who go to the class with different disposition, different mindsets and behavior. Somebody says role model. That is also a part of pedagogy. Role model, behavior of the teachers and how they interact with children. Gone are the days when you have to be very severe, strict teacher. No. Or very severe and effective principal. No, nowadays effective principal is not required. A principal who brings about improvement is required. A teacher who brings about improvement, whether it is an incremental improvement or a slow improvement. The improvement is seen in the growth of the child, whether it is behavioral, whether it is academic. There lies the pedagogical leadership. This is the basic concept of the pedagogical leadership that even the CBSE is conducting for the principals. And in knowing this is nothing new. It's nothing new. In 2001, Jacques Delors, he brought out a paper, and that was on the 4 pillars of learning. I hope many of you may have heard about it. 4 pillars of learning. Every leader, you as teacher as a leader, you as a coordinator as a leader, you as an HOD as a leader, you as a vice principal as a leader, and you as a principal as a leader, you have to keep 4 things in your mind. Number 1 is learning to know. Don't think you know it all. I got 30, 40 years experience. I know it all. I can do it all. No. You can still be open to learning. And that is learning to know. And what is the openness to learning? You upgrade your knowledge. See, what I was about 20 years ago and what I am now, I feel so much difference. Because I have aligned myself through the time to time with a kind of a demand that is required. Today, the kind of parents we have, today, the kind of students we have, we did not have it about 20 years ago. So we have to align ourselves. The pandemic times taught me a lot of lesson. That too, almost during the pandemic time, I was with a laptop. And when I came to this digital era, and I started thinking in digitally everything. And the first thing I did was training for the teachers on the digital platform. You have to align. Now it's a new medium. And we had a lot of session on how to tap resources of online resources to make the content and the presentations, making the students engage, interactive. A lot of hard work went through. And in the process, I also learned the process of online teaching. Today, I'm able to edit videos. I can design content, which I never had the experience before. Because when I was in the pandemic times, I did not have my office around for people to help me. So I had to do everything on my own. This is alignment. This is upgrading your skills. That you have to do. You have to go into the pedagogical practice, the content, and whatsoever. Learning to know. The next is learning to do. You have to do. You have to work it out. That is upgrading your skills. And the third one is, the first pillar was learning to know. The second one was learning to do. And the third one, which is very important according to the 21st learning skills, and that is learning to live together, learning to work together, learning to share good practices, learning to know from each other, learning to derive strength from each other. And that is where you build a culture, a collaboration. All of you feel at home when you are all together. That's a culture of collaboration. The 21st century learning is, number one, you have to have a choice. You have to be very flexible. Choice, collaboration, creativity, yes, connectivity. And all this brings about a sense of family spirit. Again, I come back to my first thing, shared vision. You all may be different, but all your vision may be different personally. But when you all work together, you differ, but you don't conflict. When you differ and do not conflict, that means you're building up the vision for the institution. So, first I said learning to know. The second was learning to do. The third was learning together, which I said is a collaboration. And the last but not the least is learning to be what you are. When you work together towards enhancing the well-being of the students or your fellow colleagues, you develop a community of learners. you develop a community. And when you are in a community, you feel safe. You feel very comfortable. And so the time now is 5:06. I will just quickly share my slides to drive a few concepts, which I hope, and maybe later on when we get an opportunity, I will take this forward a little more. So this is the first time I'm working with a Google. I think you have to your entire screen. Am I right? Yeah. All right. This was basically my topic for today, leading for learning. And I said I'm going to touch upon the first part, the concept of school leadership. And that is basically the school's culture and ethos, collaboratively with all stakeholders, consciously shift towards making learning part of the school's culture and ethos. I did talk about the 4 pillars of learning. Just a recapitulation. You have heard me, now just have a look at it and read. So learning to know, learning to do, learning to, I think it's a mistake there, live together, learning to be. And then when you are becoming a leader in your own capacity as a teacher, as a subject teacher, as a coordinator, as an HOD, or as a vice principal, or as a principal, these are certain things you'll have to come forward. You cannot remain as you were for the past 10 years, 20 years. You have to take initiative and risk. Think out of box. Every school has its own resources. Some of them may be limited, some of them with whatever available resources, managing the resources. Then I talked about creating a culture of collaboration for a change. Networking with people is very important because that brings about shared vision, that brings about sharing the good practices. So when you talk about the leader of tomorrow, or to become a leader of tomorrow, the most important thing I will start with is influence others. How are you able to influence others? Influence means not directing them. It is something that it's a kind of an ability that you change the behavior of another person. You modify the behavior of another person. I think great leaders were more of influential leaders, not dictators. And when you are an influential leader as a teacher, in whatever capacity you're working, and try to achieve a goal without manipulation, without reward, without punishment, or without authority, then you are an influential leader. And this type of leadership is basically based on intentional control, setting the goals for the school, and creating a community. I have talked about community, aligning with the vision, with the school's vision. Directing others, well, this is where this constitutes a leadership team. You are a team in the school, and you work on various processes, some of them in the examination department, some of them in the administrative department, some of them in the academic core committee. So you are in a different processes, and you engage with the team, direct, to set other attain that specific and achievable goals. And you participate and connect with different teams to find a solution to a problem or a solution for improvement. And the most important thing in this directing others is engaging with self-check. What am I doing? Am I doing the right thing? Can I improve myself? What are my strengths or what are my weaknesses? What is the evaluation mechanism that you have about yourself? And able to improve rather than becoming a very effective person. Empowering others. Whether you are an HOD of a department, how are you creating that enthusiasm? If you are a vice principal or a principal, how are you creating that enthusiasm? Creation of an enthusiasm is empowerment. They feel good about themselves. And once you empower, it triggers curiosity to think out of box. Once you give empowerment, they also have the power of listening to others. Otherwise, they become dictators. Once you give them flexibility, they will listen to others, like the sound unheard, the voices unheard. And they try to find out new direction, new ways, new methods of learning, new way of driving the concepts in mathematics, physics, chemistry, or whatsoever. And above all, they also have the ability to carry the parents and the non-teaching office staff, everybody. When you empower them, they also develop a community. The last, very important, is working with others. Working with teachers, working with educators, working with stakeholders. I mean, you have a cordial relationship. That's a very important thing. And the relationship to develop a very good work culture, to carry everybody as a team. I still remember quite long ago when G. Balasubramanian was the director of CBSE. Whenever I used to go to Delhi, I used to meet him. And he had a very unique quality of leadership. Of course, he was a very busy man. Sometimes to give time for me, he'll make me sit in his own office in the sofa set. And I used to observe how people used to come in and go out. Central Board of Secondary Education comes under the Ministry of Education. It's a Government of India enterprise. All the people working under him are all government-oriented, government-cultured people, and he was an academician. There was a different vision. The vision of the people in that office were people who used to do routine work, and he was a leader in academic field. The best way he used to educate them is to bring them all around, make them sit around and do the things with them, work with them. And then they develop that culture of working together. And then there becomes a very meaningful interaction and cordial relationship develops. And that makes the difference. And another very interesting thing about working with others, I think most of you as teachers and in whatever capacity, you always work with others. One of the aspects of working with others is distributed leadership, for which you have to distribute the leadership. You should not be very possessive of you being a leader. Give somebody this work, assign various works to others. Give them empowerment. Give them a feeling of mutual agreement and collective action. And I think that would go very well, work with others. And not only work with others, they could also work parallelly. And this is again, when you do like this, work with others, you are practicing what I would say, a shared vision. Each one of you may have a different version, but you work together for the institutional vision. I wish I could continue, but I'll just quickly go through one more slide to tell you these are another 4 things that is responsive leaders, responsible leaders, responsive teacher, responsible HOD, responsible vice principal, principal, and responsible and inclusive. What are these 4? Responsive means you understand. When you respond to the queries or unheard voices of the students, you are responding. You understand and you respond. You identify the problems in your colleagues. You identify the doubts in the students, and you address the needs. That is responsive. This is a very great quality of leadership. And you are able to create an aspiration for them and also the expectation of the students. And you are also giving create an opportunity for collaboration. So responsive is when you respond, when you do not turn your head away or indifferent to the needs of others. And you also take responsibility. When you take responsibility of your decisions made and action performed for improving the quality of the students' learning, you are a leader for learning and students' learning. And you create a workable team. And then comes very inclusive leadership. What is that? Equal opportunities in school process. I mean, you need not be very resolute, but you need to be very building a collective capacity. You build their strategies with precision. You consider all of them as good learners, all teachers as good colleagues, all parents as great stakeholders, and you feel the community in which you are there is an asset for yourself. And that is very important. Inclusive, when you look at the needs of every child through remediation, through differentiated learnings, through personalized learning, you give every child a comfort that all of them cannot be the same, all are different, but you address them with care. And the next is the networking. I think the networking is another word for collaboration. Today we have networking. Today all the teachers who are here as a network here, and we are all sharing our thoughts, sharing the good thoughts, sharing the good practices. Similarly, you should have the ability to network. Nowadays with this WhatsApp group and various group, you have a network of people. I think you should use this network to share the good practices. And this would go a long way in developing your leadership for learning and your leadership to learn. I would like to take questions for another 5 minutes, which I can afford to. And it would be nice if you can ask me a few questions. Thank you.